And good afternoon, racing fans. Welcome to Hawthorne Racecourse for a Sunday afternoon of thoroughbred action. Jim Miller and Emily Gullikson up here in our mezzanine level studio on an overcast Sunday here in the Chicagoland area. Fortunately, Emily, it's a dry day, so the turf course has had at least a little bit of time to dry. We had a lot of wind on Friday, a little bit of mist and kind of light rain yesterday, but today we're okay. Races 3 and 5 are off the turf today. Races 7 and 9 remain on with the turf course listed as yielding, but the horses in the stake and the Cary Memorial will get a fresh turf course to run over. That
Awesome.
turf course has been used for one day in the last 7 weeks, so that'll be a good thing. It's a really good stakes race today, too.
It's an awesome stakes race. Only one scratch, which was a horse I thought had a good chance, but you know, you can't win if you're not in, or the other way around. So it's still a really solid field of runners, very competitive. A lot of barns coming in, a lot of riders coming in, which makes it even more interesting. A lot more storylines in play, but it's still a great card, top to bottom. I've been excited about this card since it drew last week.
Yeah, it was a very good card today, and we'll take a look through it in a moment. A lot of weather going on at some different tracks around the country. We were talking earlier, it's weird. Gulfstream took a race off the turf, but are calling it good. New York is off the turf and canceled a race today. There is no turf at Churchill, so we'll see kind of what happens throughout the course of the day as things progress, but a little bit of competition early lightens up a little bit later on in the card.
And really, I mean, I'm not just saying this, I'm kind of a homer and happen to be sitting in this lovely studio here at Hawthorne, but I think this card is really great. So if you like horse racing, you like playing horses, look at these races because they're extremely playable. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and even late, we have that late pick 5 carryover, over $5,000. So a lot of opportunities to get involved today on this card.
Yeah, and that's the one thing you want to jump into is that late pick 5 carryover. Nobody hit it on Thursday, so like you mentioned, over $5,000. That starts with race 5. Definitely worth jumping into. So let's take a look through the races today. The main track is fast. It will be fast all day long. Again, the turf course for races 7 and 9 listed as yielding. We're off the turf for races 3 and 5, but we kick things off in the opener with a field of 7 to line up in the first. We go 1 mile and 70 yards, 12.5 claimers to open up the day. The one Regimental has taken a lot of action here. It opened up at a 7 to 5 on the board. It's a horse I had in the mix. I thought you could beat it. I actually went to Golden Buck, the 5 in this spot, but Regimental taking that early money. Let's see what happens with the class drop and the move back to the dirt.
And it looks like those two runners are getting the bulk of the action early with Regimental at 7 to 5, as you mentioned, and Golden Buck at 3 to 1. I think both horses have a look in here. I have them 1-2, but I'm flip-flop from you. I have Regimental on top. He's coming back from 2 better than looked efforts, or a better than looked effort back on August 11, and then raced against the Biased in his most recent start on September 8th. And the one thing that kind of caught my eye, just looking at some rider-trainer combinations, was David Cohen getting aboard for Eduardo Rodriguez. This combination is 6 for 21 in the win column. I think that's pretty good.
That's very
We're
solid,
71% in the money. So at least, if nothing else, what it shows you is there's a lot of intent on this runner. And somebody early on, or a few people early on, seem to think so, as we're seeing 7 to 5. But Golden Buck, you know, a new face. I talked to Jim Watkins, or just mentioned this horse, and has him ready, likely to show some early speed in here. And I actually don't mind that this horse has the 30-40 freshening. I thought he ran really hard, taken out of his run style last out. So just giving a little bit more time to recover from there. And if he's fit, he's dangerous.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see how the track plays today. Normally here at Hawthorne, you get a headwind in the lane. Lately, because of what's been going on with the hurricane, the winds are actually out of the east, so it becomes a tailwind here at Hawthorne. So going to be very curious to just kind of see how things unfold for how the races play. I expect the track to play very evenly throughout the course of this card, but Regimental opens up as your 7 to 5 favorite here in race number 1. Race number 2 today, $7,500 claimers. They go 3/4 of a mile in the spot. It's a field of 7 to line up in here as well. A Diva on the rail looks to be the horse to beat, coming from the barn of trainer John Herron. Recent starts on the turf, but this is a horse that I think actually sprinting on the dirt might be a little bit better off.
I think finds a lateral changing class, getting the right changes just to fit in today's race shape with their running style from the inside makes a lot of sense. That subtle changing class, again, those lateral changes, is versatile, both on the dirt, the turf, just a matter of finding the right level of where she fits and finding the right trip. So that should be it. I definitely use, same thing with number 6, Heavenly Hash, upgrading the second start of the cycle. The other one that I don't think I put enough respect on her name when I was doing the early handicapping is number 3, Smooth Justice. I had her in the mix, and I'm probably going to upgrade her. So I think she should have a pace advantage in here and intent coming back. That was the day going back to September 19th where she was very restless in the paddock, tough to get saddled, which she'd done in the past. but that might have played a role in the day. And I think there's intent because Joel Campbell also has Jocelyn in here, and Jocelyn's racing above condition. So I think if you're just running in a spot saying, I want this race to go, at least have a little bit of pace in there. So those are the ones that I use.
Yeah, again, it's a very tough race. I mean, Go Storm and Girl's been tremendous here at Hawthorne throughout the course of this one's career. Style's a horse that figures as well. It's a good, tough race for second leg of the early pick 5 and the start of the early pick 4. Race 3 today comes off the turf, goes 1 mile and 70 yards on the fast main track. Only the one scratch. Take out the 4, Blitz. Eduardo Gallardo rides the 5. That's chasing the 1. It becomes a little bit more interesting. The other Burt runner stays in here with Commissioner Oscar. I thought that horse could be tough. I think T-Law staying in could be tough. I stayed on my second pick, Kingsbury Attack, because they stay in this race, but I think this one may be a little bit more up against it on the main track, but has run some main track races okay. But with Brooke Blitz out, it kind of opens things up a little bit.
Yeah, I mentioned Commissioner Oscar back on Thursday because they ran the common race with Victorious Vanda, stablemate, who was the heavy favorite in that common race at Canterbury on September 12th. And there was a blanket finish at the wire where Commissioner Oscar was in that blanket finish. So I was flattered by that one coming back to win. I think there's intent in here. And for similar, I went back to number 3, T-Law, who I didn't mind on the turf. I'd had some subtle trips on the turf, but obviously has dirt form as well. So I'm going to kind of lean 1-3, not really changing things too much with that surface switch.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see kind of what the wagering action is too, because Little Steven probably going to take some action, able to show some speed, but Secession can show speed and maybe even a little bit better on the main track too. Comes, I think, a little bit more tricky race there.
Chasing the 1 has speed as well, so
it's a little bit trickier race now, I think, on the dirt there in race 3. Race 4 is the running of the Jean Elizabeth Handicap. Illinois bred fillies and mares in here for $75,000. It's a field of 5. Ouvre is going to be the heavy favorite, going to be the one to beat. Carries 129 pounds, but you kind of figure has to carry that much weight in a field like this because she's just so good. She's approaching $900,000 in lifetime earnings. Now, she has been beaten in her last couple, though, but the last time she was on the dirt in a sprint was 3 starts back, and that was a pretty impressive performance.
Yeah, she could have a couple excuses in those races as far as the distance, as far as the trip, and as you mentioned, she's going to be carrying a lot of weight. She's going to be carrying even more weight from the public. She's going to be an insanely heavy favorite in here, and absolutely deserving. Rider change back to Jareth Loveberry, who's been aboard for 10 of her career wins, 16 career wins. I mean, it's just awesome. But I don't even know if that will matter. I think probably you or I could get on her back and probably get it done today. She's just such a standout in this field, and this is a good field.
Yeah,
she's just really going to be strong.
The one question is going to be what Becker does with his runners, because you figure ET and Race to the Finish is gunning. They're winging it from the outside, maybe trying to put a little pace pressure or just beat this one to the top, and then Commissioner Gulch tries to run on late. Again, it may not matter with the class of Ouvre in here, but kind of see if those two can team up. Final race on the career for White Lies as well, so hopefully that one can come running at him late.
She's been really good this season.
She's a solid racehorse. She tries hard each and every time out. Race 5 today, the other race that comes off the turf. 1 mile, 70 yards on the main track. Take out the 1, Roar of Silence, and the 7, Rembrandt. Still leaves you a field of 7 to line up in here. Spicy Italian's a horse that I think is actually probably better on dirt than turf. That one stays in. At Midnight stays in. I thought Rieta was going to be pretty tough on the stretch and distance, but this still becomes a pretty complicated race.
It does, and like race 3, a lot of it comes down to pace as well, and we'll get a few races to see how the track's playing, though that's not really going to be too beneficial if you're playing that place pick 8 or the early pick 5. But as far as the late pick 5, this is where it will start. I gave Spicy Italian a look. I thought she had that buried form coming on the turf last out and ran a really good race. But like you mentioned, she's versatile. She can run on the dirt. She can run on the turf. I think she's extremely live, and that's why she's staying in this spot. Has some tactical speed and finishing ability. And I think that's where it kind of comes into play with Rieta, because she makes a lot of sense. She's now on the inside, so the plan was probably going to be to send before, but they're definitely going to have an easier task on that front. But likely to face company, number 5, Queen Anna T, has enough early speed to run with her to the first call if they so desire. And same thing with number 8, Surprise Me Again. So could take some pace pressure. It's one of those that the speed rating is high, so it's a lot of horses that have kind of they're just faster. You know, they're horses that are naturally running kind of 47s to the half, things like that.
And I'm going to be curious to see what they choose to do with Rieta, because I do expect she is sent away. If she can get out there and clear, Michelle Boyce has been so good all meet long. This is a horse that I think needs to make the top to win. Maybe she can do so in that spot there in the 5th. Sixth race on the card, condition 5, claimers go 3/4 of a mile, field of 8 lines up in here. Things kind of start with the one Lost Sunset. That's the horse that's going to be the heavy favorite in this spot. The last 2 times the horse was in for a tag was very good, won very easily. I kept trying to look to see if anybody could beat her. I didn't think they could. Allotrope I thought had maybe the best shot, but it's just a question of kind of what price and if Lost Sunset is going to be good enough.
I give Allotrope a big look in here. That's what I'm playing. I mean, I think the value is going to be there, and hope everybody kind of lands on Lost Sunset and gets the attention. She's certainly capable. She's got another one. She's got early speeds on the inside, but likely to take pace pressure. Runner's Heat has early speed, and Allotrope is not that slow either. She can keep her, and she's on the outside, so she's able to track those runners or at least put on pace pressure. She's coming into the race the right way, finding that class drop. Her races might not look that competitive. You're just looking at running lines and finishing positions, but you go back and watch the tape, there's always more to the story, right? If you're wide, you're in those tougher spots. So I think this is an ideal spot for Allotrope to get a win.
They pick up Rachel Slavinsky in the saddle. You get the Bug Rider, who's had a very good meet. From the outside draw, they can kind of dictate their position too, see what Lost Sunset does from the inside, and decide kind of where they want to be positionally with that run down the backside. Race 7 today is the return of the Carey Memorial on the turf. $150,000 stake race, the 30th running. It's a field of 11. The 8 Stitched is the only scratch in here. The 911 Turbo is the one that I laid as the favorite in this spot, just off 2 very good efforts coming into this race for trainer Neil Drysdale. A very good race from top to bottom. Where did you kind of start in the Carey Memorial?
Well, I had 2 A's in here, one of them being Stitched.
Yep.
So that one's out, but I'm not out of deductions completely. So number 10 out of deductions was my other A. I think they're extremely, extremely live in here. It's a horse that last year was improving, has form over this course, and this year coming back as a 4-year-old has only gotten faster. Was flattered when some other horses came back and won from those races out at Ellis Park. Very competitive race at Churchill's Downs. Those are not easy races by any means. Love the way this horse is coming into this race off the freshening. Seems very well intended in this spot. And I think intention comes into play with a lot of horses. That was sort of one of my questions with 911 Turbo, as well as Tonka Warrior, another one's on a quick turnaround, but 911 Turbo more specifically being the favored because they were probably pointed to the race at Kentucky Downs, right? Had an excuse back at Santa Anita, going that 6.5 in the Grade 3 Daytona, then improved at Colonial, then really improved at Kentucky Downs, but now it's just kind of coming back on short rest. So you just wonder where they peaked and they pointed, and now this is kind of, well, we're in form, we might as well take a shot. And anytime that's the case with a short price, there's some live runners in here. Out of deductions, the way I'm going to go, I think the 1, He's Pure Gold, makes a lot of sense. Yep. Should probably get a really good stalking trip. Very game horse, super consistent. Another one that looks to have some intent. And as far as the 2 outside runners, I mean, number 11, Evan Harlan, slight upgrade from a better than looked effort. And 6-1 seems short, but I thought their last race was good.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see just kind of how things do unfold. He's Pure Gold has been a specialist at the mile. This is a horse, a 6-time winner at the mile distance. Of the remaining 11, 9 of the 11 are stakes winners or stakes placed in their career. Katie, my lady, you have the mare that's facing the boys who's going to show speed. Touch Revenge can show speed. Again, this is going to be the first race on the turf in a week. It's a yielding course, but again, the lane is fresh. It's a wide turf, going to be a whole lot of room for everybody to kind of make their moves. Tonka Warriors run well over this course in the past. Another mystery is a graded stakes winner. Otago on the outside, I think, could be a factor. I did end up on He's Pure Gold. I think 911 Turbo, I don't think you're shipping from New York for a race like this if you don't think you want to come in with a chance to win. So I thought that horse was in with a big, big shot, but it is. It's a tremendous race there. Hopefully that's a race that's out on an island a little bit in the simulcast world with some of the East Coast tracks finishing up prior to then, and we'll see how things unfold for the running of the Carey Memorial.
A competitive 11-horse field on the turf.
Yeah, that should be everybody's focus at that time.
All eyes on us.
Yeah, that should be the focus for everybody for sure. Race 8, couple of scratches. Take out the 5, Stronger Together. Take out the 6, Kozan Success. Kozan Success re-entered for Thursday's card. Still leaves you with a field of 8 in this spot. And looking at this field now, the other Vandenberg runner is Cool Quartet, who remains in here. Should be tough. I went to Not Very Gentle, hoping there was some pace to chase. 2 Cookie Rule, pretty good in the last, but again, another very competitive race as part of that carryover for the late pick 5.
And this is one that really looks like pace makes the race, because I think there's a lot of pace in here, both contention and that higher speed rate that sets up ideally for number 4, Not Very Gentle, as well as number 8, Cool Quartet. So that's the way I went. I think both those horses are going to be able to work out trips in here. We'll try to get that first, or try to get the right run on Unified Weekend. He's probably going to come down in odds with those scratches scratches in here. Very consistent type, but looking at number 8, Cool Quartet, not very gentle.
Yeah, and Cool Quartet, we'll see how much action this one takes because of the scratches as well. Prices should drop on numerous horses there, but again, really solid connections there in race number 8. And then the finale, this race does remain on the grass. These are 12-5 claimers, non-winners of 3. They go a mile and a 16th over the yielding course. Take out the 6 Piccone and take out the 8, even the win. They're big scratches for this reason. Sendero is now going to be a short price favorite. Adamar Santos rides the 10, Storm's Reflection. I think you have to start with Sendero and then kind of work from there.
Yeah, Sendero is one that I was willing to take on, especially at a short price, but actually more than those horses coming out, he finds a better race shape for his running style. So that just kind of moves him up. It just changes everything around a little bit. So going to be a short price, but getting a better scenario in here. So I'm kind of leaning on the squares. I want horses that have finishing ability to close out. So that upgrades Sendero, as well as number 1, Caught Off Guard. Caught Off Guard had a very sneaky trip last out. He was caught off guard out of the gate, lunged out of the gate, just kind of out of position, and ended up running a good race, making a wide move in there. So definitely using that one. Storm's Reflection, number 10, is going to be a big price. He's got buried form. And then number 7, Bakaneko, who can once in a while pop with a price. So spreading to close out, using those 4 runners, and upgrading Sendero.
It was a very game effort for Bakaneko as well in that last out. And this is a horse, I like this spot for the horse. There was a 10 claimer that actually went for Thursday. I think this is a better spot for this racehorse today. We'll see if that's the case. Nathaniel's Hope has been solid in recent starts for a barn that's been good too. And again, we'll just see Sendero's going to be a short price there in the finale. All right, that's how we see the 9 races today. Let's flip back to the opener. Again, we do have a fast track today. Yielding turf course for races 7 and 9. Off the turf for races 3 and 5 today. That carryover, the late pick 5 over $5,300. That starts in race number 5. Here in race number 1, you get a field of 7 to line up. 1 mile, 70 yards, 12-5 claimers, now winners of 2 lifetime. From that field of 7, Emily, you're looking right now at a 9-5 favorite in the 1, a Regimental. David Cohen aboard this runner today for trainer Eduardo Rodriguez. Couple questions, just kind of what the pace scenario is going to be for this horse, where they're going to be positioned, and if they should be a factor, because they're going to get a ground-saving trip most likely.
And the rider change could be key. Just mentioned on the pre-race show, 6 for 21 with Cohen riding for this barn, so just suggests intent with that rider change, as well as a change in class coming out of those turf races where he had trips going back to July 21st, was wide before losing ground. That was coming back on short rest off a maiden win, then turned into better than looked effort in that August 11th race, despite that running line and 5th place finishing position. And similar on September 8th when they were racing against the bias, making a wide move, and also a little bit against the flow as well. Now both those races he had trouble at the start, so a little bit further off the pace. That might be another reason for the rider change today, just trying to really mix things up and get the one into the race early on. But you're right to question as far as what trip would be, but I think the horse makes sense all around, and obviously intent right now, 9-5.
Yeah, he definitely does make sense. The Eduardo Rodriguez barn has had a good meet too. I mean, you just look throughout the course of it. I'm looking at the stats, 57, 77, 81 of 172 on the board. That's a really solid meet. He had a good meet coming into this meet too in New Orleans at the fairgrounds, and everything's been running well here all season long. Now looking at a couple others, maybe the 5 Golden Buck is worth a look because of the pace ability here. Lexus Centeno aboard this runner today for trainer Jim Watkins. This one claimed for $10,000 out of that last out at Ellis. Come over here today. I kind of think they're going to go and try to show a little bit of speed in this spot. The question is, 1, can they clear? And 2, if they can they handle this distance of the mile and 70 yards?
The distance, I think, could be a question as well. And as far as the races going back to July 28th and August 12th, they were showing speed in there, rushed up, and those paces were fast. It was very fast early, very fast late. So he was holding his own on some pretty solid paces before losing ground late, and I think that played a role in the finishing position. Now, as far as the race on August 26th, they broke slow. They had trouble at the start. He made a move, a really game effort to run second. And that's considering they took the horse out of his run style by that poor start. Better when they are able to show a little bit of early speed, and I don't think they're going to have to go as fast as they did in those races out in Kentucky. So he makes sense in here, and also like after the claim, he's been given those 34 days, a little bit more time between starts.
Yeah, Jim Watkins solid off the claim. He's good with anybody that he seems to ship over here to Hawthorne to run as well, and I think Golden Buck will be a solid contender at that 2-1 price. After that, what about 18-1 on the 7, Move in Silence? This one from the barn of Armando Hernandez, a horse that's been racing down at Fairmount Park in recent starts, but you've seen a little bit of a progression over the course of recent starts. There's a 3rd, a 4th, and a 2nd, but that last out, not too bad going 3/4. You're back to the mile 70 today. I think this is a horse that could be a little bit of a sleeper at 17-1.
He's coming off the bench, yeah, absolutely. You can start when you're getting horses at big prices, you can start excusing some things, and that's kind of the case with Move in Silence. He's going to come back off the 85-day freshening, and getting Adam Basheza still riding, correct?
Yes.
So coming in, getting some experience around this course. Doesn't ride here regularly, but obviously very capable. The thing that I mentioned, I think this was on Thursday, the runners from Armando Hernandez that were taken over, they haven't quite won first out yet. Some of them needed some races. That was my one concern. But again, when you're getting price compensation, you can start kind of messing around with those stats a little bit, because it's a good barn.
Right.
And it's just a matter of time before that stat gets broken. It's not impossible.
And it's a little bit of a learning process with these horses. And as you see right here, this is part of the process. Okay, we're not going to saddle in the saddling stall. We're out there in the paddock, out at the end of the saddling ring, kind of keep away from everybody. So maybe this is a horse that was a little bit quirky coming into here, only 8 lifetime starts. But as you see, so far, cool, calm, and collected. Could be a definite factor from that second flight. And we'll see what Move in Silence shows us here in the opener. Now the 3 horses, Prince is My Boy. Prince is My Boy currently sitting at 4-1 on the board. Israel Hernandez aboard this runner today for trainer Cody Rosine. A couple of starts here at Hawthorne earlier in the meet, including that maiden breaker in a race that came off the turf back on July the 25th that was going the mile and 16th. It was a tracking trip that day, but they went really, really slowly on the front end. I think this horse probably comes from a little bit further back in this spot.
And he also caught a pretty slow pace in that most recent start out at Prairie Meadows, and it's a horse that's kind of on that every other pattern. So the fact that he won, and then he ran poor, and then he ran a good third last out, he's going to have to show that he can put together back-to-back good efforts. He makes a good appearance, but that's pretty common for this one. I do like the way he looks. I think he's got a chance. Just price is the one factor I would consider. Yeah,
currently sitting right now at 4-1 on the board with the 3, Prince is My Boy. After that, let's touch quickly on the 6, Performance Plus. So Olaf Hernandez aboard this runner today for trainer Elias Lopez. One thing about Performance Plus, this horse is at its best at Hawthorne. 4 starts over the track, 3 of 4 on the board. Come back from a turf try at Canterbury in that last out, but the start 2 back again, a maiden breaker at this distance at Hawthorne.
Yeah, he's got form that makes him a fit, and this barn is very dangerous. Those races back here in May and June definitely stack up on par, was putting things together, getting a little bit quicker, and you just wonder if maybe it just wasn't quite right at Canterbury Park, the surface switch, the time between starts. He has that 2-month freshening, and returning to those races here from earlier this season, he can be a major player.
Yeah, it's a good competitive field for the opener. It's a good card today. Pick 5, wagering kicks off in the first as they're heading out on the track. Good luck.
Coming on the track for the Sunday opener here at Hawthorne, they'll go 1 mile and 70 yards, track fast, field of 7, no changes, one place show, exacta trifecta, superfecta wagering. This race starts the rolling daily doubles, rolling pick 3s, the 50-cent pick 5, and the $1 place pick 8. Remember our win play show wagers has a low takeout of just 12%, place pick 8 wager has a low takeout of just 8%. Parading here they are, 1 Regimental, David Cohen riding. 2 is Ice Axe with Edamar Santos. 3, Prince is My Boy, Israel Hernandez. Number 4, Tigger Attack, Rachel Slavinsky. 5, Golden Buck will be ridden by Alexi Centeno. 6, Performance Plus, Olaf Hernandez riding. 7, Move in Silence, Adam Beskiza will bring him to the gate, and they'll all be there in about 5 minutes. Kick off the Sunday program. Racing fans, I remind you, dirt track fast, turf is yielding. We're off the turf. Races 3 and 5, 7 and 9 remain on the grass. Grass is yielding. Rails set at 0 feet. Now there's 4 minutes for the first at Hawthorne. Racing fans, though time remains for you to wager on today's first race here at Hawthorne. We do thank you for joining us wherever it may be across the betting network. For the temperature here in the 70s, dirt track is fast, turf is listed as yielding. Please note we are off the turf. Races 3 and 5. 7 and 9 will be contested on the yielding turf course with the rails set at 0 feet. We have one carryover pool to report today. The fifth race, the Late Pick 5, has a carryover of $5,368. They're moving towards the gate for the first race. Once again, we do thank you for joining us wherever it may be across the betting network. We are close to starting time for race 1. Final call for your first race selections, including rolling doubles, rolling pick 3s, the $1 place pick 8, and the 50-cent early pick 5. Racing fans are at the starting gate for today's first race, first of 9 on the Sunday program. Horses are entering the starting gate. Last two to go in will be Tigger Attack and Move in Silence. Waiting for Move in Silence. He's in. They're all in the gate. They're up and running. Stumbling at the start was Ice Axe, and that put that one last. Prince My Boy trying for the lead. Golden Buck showing speed. There goes Regimental moving on through along the inside. And as they go into the first turn, Regimental comes on through to take the lead. Prince My Boy racing second, now splitting horses, Moving Silence third. Then to the outside, Golden Buck is fourth. Ice Axe now is fifth as they begin their journey on the backstretch. Performance Plus and trailing the field, Tigger Attack after an opening quarter 24.72. And on mid backstretch they go, 3 across the track fighting for command. Inside Regimental. Far outside Golden Buck between those two, Prince My Boy. Moving Silence along the rail fourth, hustling up on the outside. Here comes Performance Plus in between horses looking for room. Ice Axe far back to Tigger Attack. They move around the far turn, still a battle up top. Regimental, Golden Buck still going head and head for the lead. Prince My Boy is third on the outside, Performance Plus. Then to the outside comes Ice Axe, dropping back, Moving Silence, Tigger Attack still at the end. Around the turn or in the stretch, Regimental comes off the turn on a short lead. Golden Buck still right there. Here's Prince My Boy picking up the leaders, 3 deep. In a blink of an eye, Prince My Boy goes on by. And Prince My Boy is opening up the lead in the final furlong, drawing clear by 3. Regimental, Golden Buck battling for second. Ice Axe back for fourth. They're coming to the wire. And Prince My Boy, a sharp winner indeed, won by 6 in the end. Regimental second, Golden Buck, and Ice Axe was fourth. In today's first race, number 3, Prince My Boy, finished first. 5, Golden Buck was second. 1, Regimental third. 2, Ice Axe fourth. 3-5-1-2 is posted. It's unofficial. 1:42.28 the running time. Returning the unofficial winner, 3, Prince My Boy. Prince My Boy is owned by JL Racing Limited Liability Corporation of Justin Larson. Also owned by Mark Kane and Tim Rosine. Cody Rosine trains Israel Hernandez, the winning rider. The first race is official, running time 1:42.28.